Welcome to the Bleep Bulimia podcast with guest Christian de la Huerta, author, speaker, and retreat specialist. Hello, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am the host of Bleep Bulimia, and today I'm very pleased to have Christian de la Huerta, and he is here as an award-winning author, speaker, and retreat facilitator. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, Lorianne, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Beautiful. So, as always, I do like to know a little bit more about you. Our listeners would like to know a bit about you before we get into your wonderful book, The Conscious Love, which is going to be interesting to talk about. So, go ahead.
Well, basically, I was born in Cuba. So I'm an immigrant. I came to the U.S. when I was 10, lived here, most of my life. And for the last over 30 years, I've devoted my time, my work to doing transformational work, to help people develop the ability to have relationships that have a chance of working, to have a sense of personal empowerment. I work with women a lot too, focused on women's empowerment. So I do retreats and write about that as well, specifically. Talk about life purpose. What are we really doing here at a soul level, at a mission level? But all of it is about helping us fulfill our unique human potential and removing the obstacles that have gotten in the way of our being able to do that and to be happy ultimately.
That's very interesting. So, what would have led you to this? I mean, do you have any personal experiences, or was it just something that you felt was your calling?
I love that you phrase it that way, because I've always had a sense of calling. I've always had a sense of mission. Like I knew I had work to do in that area since I was a kid. I translated it in different ways at different points in my life. So there was a time when I was an adolescent that I thought I was going to be a priest. Before, realizing that the religion in which I was raised, Catholicism, didn't really have room for me. That's always been the prevalent theme. And I come from the belief that, and it's kind of paraphrasing Einstein, that the only way that we dig ourselves out of this hole that we've dug ourselves into collectively is nothing less but a shift in consciousness. Something that's going to shift and change the way that we see ourselves, that we see each other, and that we see the world, this tiny pebble on which we live. And so that's how I see my work, is supporting that. And by the way, that's one of the reasons for which I focus on women's empowerment, because I think about it strategically. And I think about, like the empowerment of women being the single most important thing that needs to happen in the world. And it's not to idealize women. It's not to put women up on a pedestal. It's not to give women more crap to clean up of this mess that we've made of our planet. But it's because as a world, as a species, we've been running so off kilter between the masculine and the feminine energies that course through everything, through every one of us. And I believe, I'm convinced that when women are in 50% of power in this world, we're going to have a very different relationship to war, to poverty, to hunger, to social justice, to all of it. So I think of it strategically, like what can I focus my energy on, my time on, that will then ripple out.
That's very beautiful. I really love that. A lot's processing in my head right now, though, with those words that you've just said. It's a difficult, I know in my particular case, I was trying to be that empowered woman, being the mother, being the worker, being there. It was overwhelming. I don't know if that was part of my bulimia. I don't know that you know my story, but I was bulimic for 30 years, and it was only after my divorce that I quit. And my whole view of life changed. It was not like, don't do things for other people, do things for yourself. And that's where my empowerment came in. And what I do today, I absolutely love. It's like a dream job. I tell my kids, don't worry if you haven't found your job, the dream job yet. I was 59 when I found mine. So it's like there's always there. But there was that feeling of I felt comfortable in myself. But it took me that long. So if you're helping women younger age doing that, I think that's fairly important. Uh, like I said, this is about bulimia, and a lot of the midlife bulimiatics, I call them that, people who
Mhm.
struggle with bulimia. It started in their teenage years, and they just have not been able to get to the point where, and I think what you're talking about has part to do with that, like that understanding your own empowerment, your own self. And so this is really
Yeah.
interesting topic for me.
Yeah, no, I love how you're framing all of this. And we know that at the core of all eating disorders are issues around power. And that it's like ways that we can reclaim power over going around feeling powerless and out of control. That is one area over which we can exert control quickly. Um,
And
not,
then you lose
not the
control.
healthiest of ways. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Not the healthiest way to do that, but it is at the core of that. So, um, yeah, and you spoke about service, which I think is really interesting, and because most of us have been conditioned to believe that self care is selfish, and I think it's the other way around. Like to neglect ourselves is actually an act of arrogance. It's like, how dare we not treat ourselves? How dare we not honor ourselves, not respect ourselves? And what if we extended even 10% of the respect that we extend to others, of the care that we extend to others, to ourselves? And we can think of it even as a tripod. One, if three-legged stand, one of them for service oriented people that are here to make a difference, which I think anybody listening to this would probably relate to it to some degree at least. This one is service to the sacred, service to the universe. The other second leg is service to humanity, service to the earth. The third leg, service to self, which is the one that most of us neglect because of that conditioning. But the thing is, if we don't take care of that, we can't do the rest. So it's a necessity. Self-care is mandatory. It's not selfish, it's actually mandatory. So we take care of self so that we can take care of others.
I love it. Okay, so now I want to know more about your book, Transforming
Mhm.
Our Relationship to Relationships. So tell us
Yeah,
more
this
about it.
book.
Give the title, give where we can find it, all of that. I just want to hear more about it. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, the book has just come out. This is my third book. It's called Conscious Love: Transforming Our Relationship to Relationships. So, how do we approach relationships? Because we haven't been trained about this. We haven't been really educated about what love is, and how to approach our relationships consciously. And so, what that means to me, if we're like, there's the whole book's about this. So we don't really have time to get into all aspects of that. But if we're approaching the relationship or a relationship, hoping that it's going to be a source of validation, of happiness, of fulfillment, hang it up, right? That's not going to happen. There isn't anybody out there who's going to make us happy, and it's not their job to. How unfair to put that heavy responsibility. You are going to make me happy. Yikes. So those are not going to do really well if that's how we're approaching them. If to approach a relationship consciously means that we know we're fully aware and take responsibility for our own happiness. And then there's different levels that we can do relationship consciously. What level one is that the other party doesn't have to be involved. I don't want to have to, play at that level, but enough about the relationship works. Maybe you cohabit well together, you co-parent well together, you travel well together, sex is great. There's enough of it that we say, okay, it's not the end all be all, but no relationship is the end all be all. But there's enough of it that works that I'm gonna stay. I choose to stay. I choose to invest my time in this relationship and myself in it. And then I can reclaim all the time, all the effort, all the resources that I would otherwise be spending look for the one, in quotes, and I can focus that on my own personal transformation, which is ultimately what we're here for, to fulfill our unique human potential. We'll come back to level 2, skip it for now. Level 3 is both beings fully realized, fully aware of our divine connection, of our essence, of our authentic self. Then the relationship becomes a sacred dance, if you will, in which we mirror that for each other. I don't think we need to worry about that one yet. Let's go back to number 2. That's the kind of the juicy one. That's where where both partners are in on it, and they have an agreement to use the container, the form of the relationship, to speed up our own process of growth and evolution and transformation. Because we all have blind spots, and that's just the nature of blind spots. Is I'm never going to see it in myself, but boy, can I see it over there. So one way in which holding a relationship consciously means is that if it's there, it's here. It's a pretty safe bet that whatever they're doing, the more that it gets us, the greater the sign that we're also doing that in some other way. And it's going to look completely different. The details are going to be different. In many cases, it's going to be, the pattern is going to be how we treat ourselves, not how we treat others. But it's a safe bet that if it's there, it's here. And the more whatever they do gets our goat, the clearer it is that we're doing that in some other way ourselves. So it's a way that we can consciously use the relationship to find those areas that are in need of growth and healing.
So this like a mirroring sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard that before, that if something annoys you with somebody, it's probably because you do it and it annoys you, but now you're seeing it in someone else. And that's interesting you're saying that. And having been aware of that, I know that I've been aware of that. So if something annoys me with somebody, I try and see, okay, what is it that I do that might be mirroring that that's bothering me? I don't think it's always, and it can be, but really, it's common. Yeah.
It can be really subtle. Like, let me give you an example. Some years ago, I was dating somebody. I had just ended a substantial long-term relationship. I really wasn't interested in like a relationship, but it was good enough. It worked. Enough of it worked. And so suddenly it disappeared. Like, a week goes by, no text, no message, like ghosting. It's like, wow, I didn't get it because I was focused. God, I wonder what's going on with them. They're okay. And so I subconsciously, of course, we don't do any of this stuff consciously, but I had to create another area in my life so that I would get the message. And I was working with a literary agent at the time, based out of New York, who was great about communication. She'd get back to me within a day at most 2. A week goes by and I haven't heard from her. Now that got my attention. Like, 2 people, different walks of life, they don't even know each other. They're not related in any way. And they're kind of doing the same thing. Right? So what are they doing? Right? Because these are blind spots. I first had to go through the process of what are they doing? Right? So what are they doing? They're not showing up. They're not doing what they said they would do. They're not keeping their word. They're not keeping their agreements. So therefore, they're out of integrity, right? Clear. We can clearly see it over there. Yikes, turn that mirror around. It's like, how am I doing that? It took me a few days because I was looking at my relationships, kind of doing an inventory. Am I showing up? Yeah. Am I keeping my word and my agreements? Yep. Am I doing what I said I was going to do? Yep. And then it hit me, Lorianne, in relationship to my writing. Like, I wasn't looking there. Like, how many times had I said to myself, nobody else knew about this agreement. It's like, I'm going to finish that chapter by such and such a date. Did I do it? No. Did I renegotiate the deadline with myself? No. I just was doing other stuff, doing retreats, workshops, but I wasn't showing up for my writing, literally. And so it's like, wow, once I had that insight, here's how this stuff works. Within an hour, they both called. Like, no longer did I need to create subconsciously drama in my life so that I could see, it's like, hey, you're not showing up in integrity in relationship to your writing. So in that very particular area of my life, I wasn't keeping my agreements. And that's the beautiful part of doing this this kind of work consciously, because then everything becomes grist for the mill. Every aspect of our lives, we can reflect back upon ourselves and ask ourselves hard questions. Why am I attracting that? And it doesn't mean that it's okay for people not to show up and not to respond. That goes. It's not okay. But if for us to get the lesson, there's one common denominator, right? In every one of those arguments, every one of our relationships in our lives. And if we will be willing to look at ourselves and ask the harder questions, why do I keep attracting that? Why do my relationships feel like the same old boring movie, only with a different actor, a different co-lead, the same kind of crap, same kind of arguments, same kind of stuff coming up? At some point, we have to own that, hey, why am I doing that? Why am I attracting that? Why am I putting up with it?
It's like Groundhog Day. It was funny. I was telling my mom that some days my life feels like that. It really doesn't. But certain things that you do every day that are the same, and it's not a bad thing. But she never heard that saying before. I said it's a movie, and where the guy wakes up every morning and it's the same thing over and over again, and he has to learn his lesson before he comes through that. So that kind of reminded me of that. Interesting too that you're saying that it's from a different aspect that taught you what you had to pay attention to. I think that's really an eye-opener. Very, very neat. In relationships, so the other thing too, which we were talking about just before we came on, I said I'm fine with relationships. I have a very busy life with a lot of people that come in and out. I'm very in the public, very close to my mother and my sister. But I have an issue when it comes to a relationship, like, a boyfriend or whatever. I went through a couple of not so easy. I divorced once, and then I was also with another gentleman after that. We're still best friends, which is funny. But they ended with some betrayal and deceit and so on and so forth. And I know that, like, in a divorce too, there's two sides to everything. So it's not going to be an all one-sided thing. And I get that. But I have a hard time actually even wanting to, like, I've been single 14 years and quite happy doing that. So, but then part of me goes, well, maybe it would be more fun having a partner in my life. I go through this thing kind of thing. And then the other thing quickly I wanted to say was the karma thing. A lot of people say karma, that, it's happening to me because of karma. But what I like what you're saying is you were aware of the possible situation. So them ghosting you, instead of you saying, oh, it's karma, and not understanding the purpose. And that's what a lot of people just say, it's just karma. But no, it's not. There's a reason, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't believe the karma word is, I mean, it's a real word, but I'm just saying is that, but can you go back and tell you what's the lesson here? Right?
Well, yeah, the lesson to me is, like, and this is paraphrasing the Course in Miracles, that it's not our job to look for love, but to look within ourselves for the obstacle to love. Like, if we will do that, then love will come and find us, right? Because what happens is that part of us, like you're talking about, wants to be in partnerships. Like, to me, that's one of the best parts of being human, is that to be in a loving, intimate relationship. It's one of the most fulfilling experiences in my life. And because of what you're talking about, though, so many of us have been hurt. So many of us have. I can't imagine anybody who hasn't felt heart pain, heartbreak in a loving relationship. What happens is that we close our heart. And the thing about the heart is that we can't close it selectively. So if we close the heart to the ex who cheated on us or betrayed us, or to mom who did this, daddy who didn't do that, whatever it is, right? We can't close it just to them. If we close our heart, we close our heart, period. And so for me, that's the importance of forgiveness, right? That we've been told forgiveness is for ourselves, it's for us. And that's right, because if we're holding somebody over the fire for what they did or failed to do, our hand is also in the fire getting burnt. And so, and again, it doesn't mean to excuse, to exonerate anybody's behavior. It's not about that. It's about taking ownership for all aspects of our lives, because otherwise we keep ourselves in a victim mode, right? Whether we're blaming karma or the ex or the system or society, like whenever we're doing that, we're giving our power away. And so, yeah, it's a tough lesson, one of tearing up the poor me card. But to me, it is the key to freedom. It's an important. It's like the key to freedom, and then the work that we're talking about, which is going within and asking, facing ourselves and our patterns, and asking why we do the things we do. It's work. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes a lot of raw honesty to look at ourselves and begin to spot the patterns and all of that. But it's so infinitely worthwhile, because otherwise what we end up doing is like this, but the subconscious stuff comes up and we like, come here, but no, not too close. So we start sending out self-sabotaging messages to mostly about relationships, but really about all aspects of our lives. So yes, it's hard work, and it is infinitely worth the possibility that we're going for is freedom. Like,
Here's an interesting
real empowerment. I'm sorry, say that again.
Yeah, no, real empowerment is very important, because what's interesting is after my two very, like, I loved both of them very much. So it was hurtful and painful. And I'm not saying it was all them. It always like takes two. So I take, but that's the thing, is becoming aware of me. Who would ever want me?
Oh, but see, but that's the faulty
So
thinking. That's the faulty thinking.
So I've forgiven them. I'm fine with them. Like I said, my the gentleman after my divorce, we're still friends. Like, it's not like, but it's me, and I do forgive myself for it, but I'm afraid for the next person who's going to be with me. So it's better off with, I can handle me. I'm good with me, but so that's where I'm at right now. Yeah. I just
Yeah, you know what? It's like I go back to that question. It's not our job to look for love.
Yeah,
But
I like
like
that.
to look within ourselves for the obstacles to love. And one of the obstacles, big area of, constellation of obstacle, is self-esteem, how we hold ourselves and how we think of ourselves. And yeah, if we're approaching a relationship with any kind of not feeling good about ourselves, not seeing our worth, that's what we're going to attract in return. So like we've got to come to terms with that. That's why this work is so important, right? So that, because the deeper that our self love, that's what that's what all the relationships are going to mirror back to us. They're all, just creating opportunities for growth and healing.
That's true. It's funny. By the way, when you were saying that you thought of becoming a priest, when I was 10, I wanted to become a nun, also Catholicist, of course.
Yeah.
And I was living in Turkey and going to a French school, which was run by the nuns. And then when I came back to Canada, that was a whole different thing. All of a sudden, I started having crushes on boys, and I thought, no, I'm not meant to be a nun. It's like, but I was determined to be one. And yes, and I veered off of that path too. There were things that I just they didn't match with my values. I mean, they're getting more progressive in the Catholic community, but it was a tough one. But yes, I grew up with that for many years.
Yeah. So then, it's a journey.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's a journey.
And the guilt thing was a big thing. And that's something that you have to, because it's ingrained in your head from a kid. So you've got to, balance that out.
That's a whole other conversation.
I know, right? But yes, but no. It does deal with relationships as well, though.
Totally. To me, like putting fear, and this is a question that I had to navigate, as a gay man trying to find a place for myself in a religion that told me that I was an abomination in the eyes of God. Like, I mean, no wonder my adolescence was one long depression.
Yeah.
Grateful for it now because I had to face, some of the really hard existential questions at a very early age. So it kind of gave me a head start. And now I can help people, you know, transform that doubt and even self-hatred into self-acceptance and self-love. I know how to do it. I experienced that. It's not something I read in a book. Like my teachings and my strategy work. They work for me. Like no
Beautiful.
matter what happens in my life these days, as I was saying, I never ever ever question my sense of worth anymore. Like that's established and unshakable. So I know if that can happen in me, that can happen in anybody.
Absolutely.
And it begins with self-awareness, right? We gotta ask, like, why do we do the things we do? Why do I create certain patterns? Why do I keep attracting certain type of people or certain type of behaviors?
Yeah. And that's what they say. There's some people they have these patterns. I've seen some people even like whether it's dating, mostly in the dating part where they break up with one person and then they end up dating somebody who's almost identical to the one that they just broke up with. And then they move to the next one. And
I
did you
know,
not notice the pattern here? Like,
I know, I know.
why is it not working? Because you're falling. And I noticed, um, from my first to my next one, they were totally different, but my patterns are odd too. So I have to watch. Maybe I don't even know what I'm looking, what I know you said that to be, compatibility, things that you like to do together and so on and so forth. Um, and I'm fine with that, but I don't know, being alone so long now, I'm thinking that I'm the most compatible person for myself.
Well, there's certainly, and that's great, right? That to me, that's the most important step, to have that loving relationship with ourselves. That is primary.
Yeah.
No way around that. So that is that is step one. Um, and then if you want to honor that longing to be in a relationship, but there's no rule, no law, cosmic or otherwise, that says that in order to be happy we have to be in a relationship. No, of course not. Done consciously, they're invaluable, because if we approach them consciously, like doing those practices, like how do I do that, turning the mirror around rather than shoving it in somebody else's faces, you do this, you do that, it's like that hurt, that was an ouch, I feel that, how do I do that, rather than going immediately into making them wrong, which is what most of us end up doing.
Like,
And so if we're willing to do that work, it really speeds up our growth,
very nice.
because of that thing we were talking about earlier, the blind spots. It's really hard to see our own blind spots.
Yeah, definitely. So I would love for you to please tell my listeners where they can find your book. Again, repeat the title of it and where they can find it. And there will be a link in my notes to where to purchase your book as well. So
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that, Lorianne. The book, again, this most recent one is Conscious Love, Transforming Our Relationship to Relationships. The previous one, that's where we're talking about power, it's called Awakening the Soul of Power. So how do we step into power, personal power, in a way that's not about hierarchy, control, fear, force, domination, that in a way that we don't have to push anybody down in order for us to feel powerful? How do we do that in a different way? They're both available on Amazon, or you can order it at your local bookstore. And in terms of getting in touch with me, probably the best way is my website, which is soulfulpower.com. SOULFUL, soulfulpower, POWER.com. And from there, they can email me directly, or they can access my social media.
that's beautiful. Congratulations again on your new book. I love having authors on because it's not a small process to create a book and to actually
Oh my
finish it
God.
off, and with everything else and the cover and everything too, right? So it's like,
Oh my God.
just to
It's
make
so
it
much work.
right, it's just to make it perfect. But when it gets on
Mm,
that shelf, it's like something to be so proud of. So
yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. So for me, it's a lot of work to write. I know people who just write every day as a practice. I've never developed that practice, that habit. For me, it's work. Happy to do it, and I know that I write well, and it's a way to communicate my message to people. And it's a lot of work. Like you're right.
A lot of work, but a wonderful accomplishment in the
editing.
end, and just holding it, right?
Yeah.
It's like holding a baby
And then the
after all those months
promotional.
of
Yes, it is like having a baby for sure.
yeah. So thank you again
For
for being
sure.
on here. I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to, I'm going to pick up a copy of that book and read it.
Thank
I'm
you
really
so much.
interested.
And thanks again for having me on the show. And thanks for having the show.
Thank you.
I know that in this second career of yours, or you're touching lives. Lives are being touched and improved. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Okay. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit me at bleepbulimia.com.